Well, good day YouTubers, and you join me at the top of a very big and also very windy hill called Corney Fell, and it's situated right on the edge of the Western Lake District, which is in Cumbria in England. Just over there is the Irish Sea, and on a clear day you can make out the Isle of Man, or as it's known to fans of the TT and the late great Joey Dunlop, Isle of your Marn. About 3 years ago, when I used to live just a couple of miles away from here, I used to come up here every now and again, especially in my camper van, and I'd park up and spend a couple of hours just minding my own business, enjoying the scenery, and occasionally I would even stay the night, which was very peaceful but also a bit scary at times. Absolutely, I'm working on it right now. Well, not right now of course, because I'm filming this, you know what I mean. And I'm looking for the first episode of season 6 to go live round about the last week of November, or thereabouts, sort of ish. Of course I can. And right now, as it's freezing cold, a cup of tea would be lovely. So that is the perfect excuse to put the kettle on. Okay. This is my Coleman dual fuel 533 Sportster stove. And the fuel I shall be burning today is good old 95 octane unleaded petrol or gasoline. So I shall carefully pour some of that into the tank and spill it everywhere. Should do it, because this stove vaporizes the fuel under pressure. Yeah, turns it into a vapor and burns that. Put the lid back on, and then with this we pressurize it with this pump, and we give it 15 of the best, or thereabouts. You sort of feel it when it starts to harden up a bit, if you'll pardon the expression. Okay. And then I take my flint and striker, like so, and I turn it on. Full whack. And it doesn't like. Come on. There we go. And then we give it another 15 pumps. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That was a workout and a half, that. There we go. And what will happen is the flame will warm the vapour as it goes through that tube, and that will increase its burnability, which will in turn make the flame hotter and will warm the fuel vapour up even more, or even warm it. And typically, I've forgotten my camping kettle, so I'm using a saucepan. And we'll just warm up a nice chunk of that. Well, drones, I mean, they have their uses. They look great. Some of the shots are just, they rise high above the scenery, panoramic. But with my videos, mine are all about being on the boat, you know, in the middle of the subject. So the viewer feels like they're traveling along with you. Now, if your shots are 100 feet up in the air looking down, you're disconnected from the subject and the life that you're trying to portray. So I've never really bothered with them. After all, it's called Travels by Narrowboat, not Travels by Helicopter. Yep, all visitor moorings on the canals and rivers, at least those that are run by Canal and River Trust, are absolutely free. And also, it's not possible to reserve them. So if you turn up at a particular visitor mooring and someone says, "Oh, you can't come here, mate, I'm looking after it for someone," tough. And the tea I'll be using, PG Tips pyramid bags. I'm usually a Yorkshire tea man, but you can't always get it. Yep, absolutely. And I've encountered many, and they travel along on their boats, and yep, they moor up, though they do tend to run inside whenever you say good evening. Well, at least they do when I say it. Personally, I've never tipped a lock keeper, though I have bought some of them ice creams on a particularly hot day, and I have seen and heard of others giving tips, but there's no actual requirement to tip lock keepers as they're completely voluntary. And that's boiling away nicely there. I shall turn that off. This wind plays havoc with it. Whoa. And we'll just pour the water straight in the cup. Leave it about an inch from the top for the milk. And we're going to allow that to steep and stew for about 2 minutes, I'd say. Give it a little squidge. Careful not to burst the bag. An OXO cube is a perennial British favourite, though I found out only a few days ago that they were in fact invented in Germany back in the 1800s and something. And it's a beef, salty kind of stock cube that you crumble up and add to stews and all manner of things, or even put on cheese on toast. And believe it or not, there are videos on YouTube showing you the correct way to open an OXO cube. I think it all boils down to the fact that I've had to be. I've never really been able to afford or wanted to spend the money taking something to a garage and getting it fixed, so I've always done it myself. I've either bought a manual and researched how to do something and done it, or just figured it out for myself. And that's all transferred now over to Aslan. I'd say that's just about done. And squeeze it out, extract every last bit of deliciousness from the tea bag, and then we simply add some milk. to taste. Nice. Oh, lovely. Tastes even better when it's made out in the wild. And incidentally, you may have noticed this rather snazzy looking country house gent travels by narrowboat mug, and also this extremely fetching travels by narrowboat t-shirt. So if you fancy getting hold of some fantastic travels by narrowboat merchandise, just click the link in the description below, or search Teespring for Country House Gent, or even better, if you look below this video, you'll find the Teespring Country House Gent merchandising shelf, and you can buy items of your desire straight from that shelf thing. They call it a shelf. It's a widget. It's a feed shop thing. Nice. Yep, I know. Terrible, isn't it? The only reason is, those pans that I use, well, the ones in the early days, the non-stick ones, they cost me the grand sum of about £2.99 each from Home Bargains. So basically, I couldn't care less. When I got onto Aslan and set off, I was determined that I would leave behind this whole system way of life of being date and time sort of driven, and always, oh, I've got to have this done by this time, and oh, I've only got a week and got to do this and that, and oh, you can't do that because the time of year, or so on and so forth. I always wanted to get shot of that. So I never mention dates or times. Well, I mention them every now and again in videos, but I never show them really on the screen, as to me it's totally irrelevant what time of year it is. You know, it's whether it's light or dark, you know, raining, freezing cold, or nice weather, the boats are in front of you. They all govern what I do and what people on boats tend to do. So no, date and time, no thank you. Yep, I'm asked that question more than any other, and quite rightly so. I mean, after all, I live on a boat on my own, but as I said before, living alone doesn't necessarily have to mean being lonely. And people say what great companions they are, and yeah, I fully agree. And I've had horses, probably 6 or 7 horses. I've had 3 Cavalier King Charles Spaniels, 2 cats, one of which was my greatest mate ever, and he nearly made it to 20 years of age, but he had to be put to sleep, and yeah, a very upsetting day that, and I miss him dearly. His name was Tigger. Lovely little lad. I've had chickens, gerbil, even a budgie for about an hour, but my mate Tigger had other ideas about that. Yep, so I know all about pets and animals, and they are fantastic company, but they're also a bit of a bind, I find. If you suddenly want to go off for a couple of hours and for the evening, or go away for a few days, if you can't take them with you, you have to find someone to look after them. And what I've found, because they only live a very small fraction of our lives, that ultimately they break your heart. So I decided after 49 years that now I was moving on to Aslan, it would be a 1-person boat, and so far it's been very enjoyable. Right. Well, a very good mate of mine dropped me off here and said he'd pick me up again in 2 hours. But that was 4 hours ago. Oh well, looks like I'm going to be walking. Only 80 miles to go. Right, well, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to click like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Cheers for now.